Mr. Helvey, I want to begin by sharing the chairman's frustration with the fact that we have not been able to hear from our general in Afghanistan. It's very difficult for this committee to conduct its oversight responsibilities when we can't get the appropriate people in front of us, and there is no excuse for that. So I hope you will take that back to the department and share that with them. General Trollinger, there have been multiple reports over the last months since the February 2020 agreement that the Taliban have not broken their ties with al-Qaeda, that al-Qaeda continues to operate with the Taliban in Afghanistan, and that ISIS also is operating in Afghanistan. Is that your understanding, and is that the understanding of our military people on the ground in Afghanistan?
Senator, it's clear that the Taliban's compliance with the agreement has been uneven, but I would prefer to go into detail on that in our closed session.
I appreciate that. However, people are going to know very soon, once we pull out, whether al-Qaeda and ISIS continue to operate in Afghanistan. Mr. Helvey, I appreciated your support for those Afghans who have helped us during our 20 years in Afghanistan. But I think we've got to be clearer about what we're doing to address that. Currently, there are an estimated 18,000 Afghan SIV applicants currently in process. These applicants and their families, as we know, are in imminent danger from the Taliban. Many of the delays in the SIV program stem from the difficulty that those applicants have in obtaining employment verification letters from former and often defunct employers. And considering that many of those applicants have served in support of the military and directly with the Department of Defense, do we have a centralized database that can be used to verify the employment of those SIV applicants?
Senator, it is my understanding that we are drawing from a centralized database to collect and provide biometric data to facilitate that type of identification. I don't have the specific, the scope for how long that biometric data has been collected, so I think there are some gaps in that. But since we began the collection and maintenance of that biometric data, we've been able to use that. There are Afghan individuals that have supported us prior to the collection of that biometric data that we are looking to pull other resources of data to provide that type of information to State Department.
Can you share with me and with this committee specifically what we're doing with that data?
Senator, if I can provide that in writing, just to provide the specifics,
that would be great. I appreciate that. In fiscal year 2014, NDAA required that the Secretary of Defense designate a senior coordinating official, and I'm quoting, with sufficient expertise, authority, and resources to carry out the duties with regard to the issuance of SIVs. It tasked the official with developing proposals to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the process. Can you tell me if we have someone designated to do that, who that person is? And if not, are we going to appoint someone to do that?
I will have to get back to you, Senator. I think that, State Department's in the lead for this program, and so let me find out, who if there is such a special coordinator performing that function.
I can tell you that I don't believe that there is, so I would urge the department to take a look at that. Finally, let me just ask you, in the time that I have left, about the status of women and girls in Afghanistan. We know that on May 8th, there was a bus bombing that killed more than 80 people. Many of them were schoolgirls. We have seen the violence against women, particularly women in the media and women working in Afghanistan over the last months, and based on what we understand from the Taliban, we expect that to continue once the United States pulls out. So can you speak to any steps that we are taking to try and support the women and girls of Afghanistan, and particularly in the context of the Women, Peace, and Security Act in 2017, which requires the department to incorporate gender lens decision-making into its policies and actions? Are we doing anything to involve women as we're looking at what happens after we leave?
Senator, with respect to what we're doing today, we are using some of the funding within the Afghan Security Forces Fund, or ASIF, to encourage and build in Afghan women in particular into the Afghan National Defense and Security Forces. And so that is something that we are doing. With respect to...
We've been doing that for some time, though. Is that not correct?
Yes, Senator, that is something that we have been doing in compliance with the law. In terms of where we need to go, I agree with you 100%. We want to be able to maintain and see the gains that we've made over the past 20 years preserved. This is something that we're working with our State Department, USAID colleagues, and our coalition partners who are equally interested in this. I think, fundamentally, this is going to have to be something that the Afghan government and the Taliban, if they're able to sit and determine the arrangements for the future of Afghanistan, to figure out how to get to that peaceful outcome and to be able to preserve these gains for all Afghans. And I think with respect to what the Taliban does in the future, this is something that Ambassador Khalilzad has talked about. At some point, if they are in a position where they are exercising power or influence in Afghanistan, they're going to need to have international support. And that does provide a degree of leverage that the international community would have on the Taliban in how it treats the people within the borders.
Well, I appreciate that answer, but we'd have had a lot more leverage if we had made the point to the Taliban when we were negotiating a peace agreement before we signed it.